All right, guys, DFS Army VIPs, this is just for you. We'll make this super, super, super quick today. Uh, NBA transferring into NHL is actually easier than you think. I'll come back later with our research station and a game breakdown and some more Oppo Chapo type crap for you that you guys can certainly fade that I like, and that's really how we play the game here in NHL. Go onto the NHL tab on the website. There's the research station. There's the strategy articles. This is the strategy page right here. There's a lot of stuff on here that'll get you up to speed really, really quickly. Glossary, whatever. I need to update that myself. But ladder system, you've seen, you know. But here's a research station tutorial. Here's 5 quick ways to win by Flynn. Quick translations. Another research station tutorial. I would do that one first. A little bit more in-depth stuff before I got told to start editing content. I was working on a PowerPoint presentation type series that was teaching NHL. But here's the article that I would probably read first. You can even go all the way back here to Fluff's stuff. It's pretty decent stuff, you guys, and it'll help you get up to speed really, really quickly. Showing you the actual research station from yesterday. I'll walk you through that really quickly, show you 3 other resources that I use quite a bit while I'm waiting for Research Station to populate. Jim's the creator. Jim works nights, and so when he comes home, sometimes he gets it up right away. Sometimes we wait a little bit. It's really not anything that ever costs us anything if you've got the time to wait till after lunch or so. You've got a game-by-game breakdown. You've got their season-long records, road splits or home splits for the road team on the left, home team on the right. Got all your Vegas information up here. Last 10 games is very, very important. This is what I watch for hot trends. You know, who's scoring, who's giving up goals, et cetera, et cetera. It does this for every single team. It's a little bit of goalie information down here at the bottom. You've got a line combos page. This line combos page is pretty freaking cool. It shows the matchup, away team, home team. It shows all of the lines, what line they skate on, defensive pairing they are on. Second line, it shows the top 2 lines. Power plays, right? Second power play unit, first power play unit. Shows their position eligibility generally. Of course, there's a little bit of a difference between FanDuel and DraftKings. Shows the names, shows their goals, shows a little bit of DVP, which you guys know from basketball and football, defense versus position. Green is good, red is bad. Shows their season numbers, shows their last 10 games, shows their last 5 games. Very, very important to see who's hot and who's not. Also shows you the production of the line as a whole. Add these up, 11 and 3 is 14, right? You can see the defensive pairings. I will tell you something quickly about hockey. Defensive skaters are not all, this is not a 5-man unit all the time, not 100% of the time. Most of the time it is. But your defensemen oftentimes overlap both these lines, meaning the defenseman might stay out there and they might only switch 3 guys, just the forwards. And your defenseman may stay out there for a little bit longer, an extra 30 seconds or a minute. That may overlap the second line a little bit. So your defensemen actually do get access, both pairings get access to both of these lines. The second more with the second line, the first more with the first, but they do overlap a little bit. The other way to think about this is, how do I correlate when it comes to DFS? What I'm looking for is I can stack this top line super easy. Just go bang, bang, bang. And I've got them all at even strength all the time. One passes to the other, boom, he scores. I get the goal and both assists. It's called a stack slam inside DFS Army. We kind of joke about it because it's a pretty big deal. It's 30-something points on FanDuel when you get something like that. I don't know the exact DK equivalent, but it's a big deal. The defensemen do factor in, though. They pass the puck around. They score goals themselves. So another combination of a stack would be like a defenseman, a winger, and the center, or a defenseman, wing, wing, or even in some cases, defenseman, wing. There's so much room for creativity. You don't need to really spaz out over ownership in hockey because it's pretty hard to get a duplicate lineup somewhere because everybody has slightly different thoughts. Personally, I love defenseman, wing, center stacks. That's not the only way to do it. It's just the way I tend to do it. Another thing I love doing is complete 4-man stacks where I'll take 2 wingers or you know, center and a winger, or 2 wingers, whatever, off the top line, and then 2 off the bottom line, the second line. And now I've got 2-man exposure to both top lines. If any goals get scored that night, I've got big pieces of them. I just need the game to go off. If the game only scores 2 goals, I'm probably screwed. But it's a way to play on really, really short slates and really, really hit something hard, something that a lot of people don't typically do. Watching for the power play correlation. This is more of a cash strategy. I would take the top line guys and the second line guys, and I would look through the research station for somebody that is, see like how this is completely 1-1 and 2-2, and this is pretty much the same. The second line doesn't have a lot of guys that are on that second power play unit. I'm looking for guys that are mixed up on the power plays. And I'll scroll down a little bit and see if I can find one. Here we go. Carolina. Line 1, power play 1, line 1, power play 2, line 1, power play 1. Down here, there's a 2 and a 1. Teravainen's on the top power play unit, but he's on the second line. So I would not hesitate to take a Teravainen and a Williams and an Aho and stack it that way. Because I've got line 1. These guys are out there. These two are out there with each other on even strength all the time. And then Teravainen's out there. It gives me access to the second line. If the second line scores at even strength, I've got access to it with Teravainen. But if the power play scores, whoom, 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 I've got 3 dudes on it. Okay, this is a way to overlap a little bit. It's a little bit safer play if I was running some kind of a little mini stack of maybe the defenseman and then, like Justin Falk here, second defensive pairing, top power play unit, Teravainen, second unit, top power play unit, and then maybe somebody like Sebastian Aho, top line, top unit. I've got Falk who's out there overlapping with both of these guys some. I've got all 3 of them stacked up on the power play. But at even strength, I've got 2 different lines of scoring. So I'm really spread out pretty safely in this game for having 3 dudes in it. Now, in stacking situations, we don't often do that. We might only keep it to 2 guys. We might only keep it to 1 guy per team in non-stacking situations. But when we're stacking, there are safe ways to stack. This would be a little bit safer way to stack. It still has upside because they're all loaded on that power play unit. But it does have safety. It has a higher floor because more goals can come from more areas of that game, and I still get quality pieces of them. Okay? So it's a high floor, slightly lower than pure upside type matchup, but it's strong for both tournaments and cash games if you want to do that. I don't mind stacking in cash in hockey because a lot of times you just got to have the big pieces of what happened to win. There's a whole lot of people that dud out repeatedly. The one thing I would not do is I would not take the 2 and the 1 and the 1 and the 2. Like Niederreiter and Teravainen do not correlate well. It's essentially 2 different one-offs. And if I was going to take, they're never on the ice together. And if I was going to take one-offs, I'd take one from this team and one from a completely different team. I would not take 2 different one-offs from the same team on a bigger slate. 4-game slate, pretty borderline. Probably still don't need to worry about it. But on a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-game slate, no way, Jose. Don't need to do it. 2 and 3-game slates, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Okay, so that briefly covers these pages. You really focus on the greens and the reds. Last 10 games, last 5 games. You can see how hot this top line in Carolina has been running over the last 10 games. Been really, really producing well. If you look at, Chicago last night. I'll show you this really quick before I scram. Anaheim, Boston. Hey, this is today. Hey, what do you know? We'll come back and we'll do a video a little bit later. There's a goalie tab in here that will show you the basics about the goalies with projections and things like that. My favorite column here is the win chance column. I'll sort by descending, and a lot of times I will put a lot of importance on these top win chance goalies because I want the win. I won't overvalue it as much as a starting pitcher in baseball, but it is close. You want the points out of your goalie. Sometimes you'll tend to pay up to get it. But at a 63% win chance with Kevin Boyle and Anaheim's goalie in Boston, that's very, very interesting. I don't know why it would be a 63% win chance. Boston's probably favored in that game. I haven't looked at it specifically, but that one throws me off. This feels more of a GPP type of goalie, but again, it is what it is. Generally, your top goalies, your high-priced dudes, are going to be up top. And that's going to become an affordability question for you because I will tell you that skaters have 30 and 40-point upside more often than goalies tend to hit it. Your Patrick Kanes, your Sidney Crosby's even, whatever, your studs of the league, Johnny Gaudreau's, tend to have more upside than even a goalie. The goalies do well when they hit their shutouts and they have a lot of shots thrown at them and they don't allow a lot of goals and they win the game and whatever else. But generally speaking, you get a hot skater like a Patrick Kane right now, and he's going to have 30-point upside more often than a goalie. So for me, I'd rather just pay down, take the 20 points, move on, and treat it that way. But I'm a little bit different there than the rest of our guys. There are tiers and tier stacks columns if you play tiers, but running through here, one of my favorite things to do with this page is look for value. The 2 ways that I do this, and you'll see me do this in the video later, is I'll sort by FanDuel points. You can sort by DK points. It's the same thing. And I'm going to watch the last 5 games. I take a baseline of 10 games versus a baseline of 5 games. If the 5-game number is higher, than the 10-game number. Personally, I preach that the pricing hasn't caught up with the guy yet. Because as he keeps doing better and better and better, his price is going to keep going up and up and up. But the pricing can never keep up, can never keep pace with how well he plays on short samples of 3 games, 5 games, whatever. It can catch him on 10-game samples. So I will watch that number religiously. If they're running above, I like the guy. If they're running below the 10-game number, I don't like the guy. Like if we come down here a little ways, we'll see a couple, I'm sure. These guys are in the 10s. So here's a 12, here's an 11, here's a 12, a 13. So Dougie Hamilton is playing at 10 points per game right now. He was playing at 13 points per game over 10 games. Therefore, his 5-game number is lower than his 10-game number. Therefore, I feel he's a little bit overpriced, meaning his price caught up to him and now he's cooled back off and now he's technically a little bit overpriced. That's how I use this page a lot. It tends to work. It's not foolproof. It works just like everything else. It has its good runs and its bad runs as a method. And the bottom line is you stick to a method that you believe and that logically you can confirm, and you let the variance come up through you and go down through you and come up through you and go down through you. Don't move. I don't care how bad your losing streak goes on. That just means your winning streak is coming and it's going to get better. You need the bankroll to outlast it. But if you change and go, well, I'll do this method today, and then I'll do this method tomorrow, and this method tomorrow, and this method tomorrow, you're going to screw yourself because you'll constantly be chasing your tail, and that is NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, any sport. Pick a method, trust a method, slowly refine your method, but generally speaking, don't create additional moving parts to your method. That's bad. That chases your tail. Stick to something and watch the variance go up through you and down through you and up through you and down through you, and you will sleep better at night, I promise. Once I've sorted by FanDuel average, I will also come over here and I will start looking for out-of-place salaries. Up here, I'm looking for the big $8,000, $9,000 guys, right? So if I find a $6,600 guy randomly slapped in there, a $6,300 guy randomly slapped in there, I'm going to love me some Nugent Hopkins, I'm going to love me some Teravainen tonight. I'm going to come down here even lower and find a $5,800, a $4,100 guy. Heinen, I know he's only on the 3rd line and he's not getting power play time. I don't give a shit. Right now he's hot. If I need the value, this is one of the first guys I'm reaching for. Why? He's producing with these $6,000 and $7,000 players and he's only $4,000. He's way underpriced. He's also priced up on DK. This is another thing. This works on any sport. DraftKings is more sensitive to their pricing based on matchups than FanDuel. So if I see a guy dramatically underpriced on FanDuel according to DraftKings, I know DraftKings likes him, FanDuel hasn't reacted yet. Big value on FanDuel. Now I'm not saying the dude's going to score tonight. I'm saying he's been scoring lately. That's the whole past results are not indicative of future performance disclaimer, but I'm telling you, over the course of a season, this works. May not work tonight. 3,700, another attractive guy in Kunin. 4th line. Probably won't make my lineup, but damn, I should definitely look at him because he's dirt cheap and he's up here producing with $5,000 and $6,000 players. Come all the way down here to the bottom of the 3,000 and the 4,000 up, and you see a $6,100 guy like Palmieri. Sorry, overpriced right now. Unless you're doing some highly contrarian GPP stack tonight, Palmieri probably shouldn't be considered because he's overpriced. He's performing like a $3,500, $4,500 player. He costs you over $6,000. See the theory there? That's what this page can show you really, really quickly. Follow Flynn, follow Emdell, follow these guys inside the room tonight. Get all of the tips and all of the stuff that you can possibly handle. Put together some lineups. Focus on correlation. Really tight correlation. If you're playing GPPs, spread it out a little bit like I just showed you if you're playing more cash and hybrid league type stuff and kind of dipping your big toe in. Aim for a little bit of a floor in the beginning, but really don't be afraid to ramp it up if you're going to gun for some GPPs. Like, hey, I play NBA all the time. I'm only going to be here for 3 days. YOLO! Dudes, you should be stacking if you feel like that. You should be stacking your balls off. Don't be afraid to be contrarian. Don't be afraid to take some underdogs. Don't be afraid to take the second line of a game instead of the top line. Don't be afraid to go for a pure upside and look for these last 5 games in the research station, who's hot and who's not. The other thing I told you I would do, is I would go through these other sites. I won't go through them too much. I'll just tell you, leftwinglock.com has a lot of goalie and skater information, line production, line matching, line combos tabs are pretty cool. Daily Faceoff is also pretty cool. You can go through their line combinations, check the Boston Bruins really quick, and you can see some pretty cool line combination graphics. It's a pretty site to look at. You can also shift over and look at their stats. and see what these guys have been doing recently. See their FanDuel and DraftKings pricing. It's another way you can quickly check higher on DraftKings than he is over here. There's Heinen again. That's why he's not a third liner. He's been promoted to the first line. $4,100 first line exposure. Boom. Usually big value because he's priced like a third liner. And he's up there playing with the first line, which means he gives you access to Bergeron and Marchand, which are two big scores. Now, you can argue over what site or what their matchup looks like tonight, or what you think they'll do tonight, if they'll overperform, underperform, whatever. But I'm telling you, typically, when you see a third line guy get promoted to the top line, that's a pretty big deal. That's like an 8-hole hitter getting a spot start in the leadoff spot in baseball. More at-bats, more opportunity to score, up in front of better talent that can drive him in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It generally means his price is too low for where he is tonight. Heinen's in the same type of spot. Now, I'm touting him. I sound like I'm really blowing him up to be an auto lock tonight. I am not. I'm describing the situation, not the player. We'll come back and we'll look at it a little bit deeper in the next round. But you can do this for any of these guys, okay, on Daily Faceoff. Roto Grinders, I look at this an awful lot, this lineups page, because I want to see Zibanejad, whatever, Zuccarello, and Kreider. They're all three on the power play one. I will use this to set kind of my situations with where I'm looking for. See, like Nugent Hopkins on the power play one, but on the second line. I use it like the lineups page in the research station. I might take a Ryan Nugent Hopkins and stack him with a Connor McDavid and get 2 lines of scoring, 2 lines of even strength scoring, spread my net out a little bit, but both get correlated on the power play one. Might come down here and drop him in with Darnell Nurse. That would be my 3 stack of Edmonton if I loved Edmonton tonight. That would be the first one I would look for. Now, I might take, Draisaitl, McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, or Cassian, whatever his name is. I might take all 3 of them. I don't know how it's going to work salary-wise and all of that. But I'm saying the first thing I would target is a Nurse type or a Clefbaum type, and I would put him out there with a Nugent Hopkins and a McDavid, or a McDavid and a Draisaitl or something like that, and I would be set. For any production that they have tonight, I've got big chunks of it most of the time. Looking over at Carolina, because it's going to be a popular name this tonight. Power play 2's down here at Teravainen's on the power play 1. We mentioned this before. Niederreiter, Aho, Williams, all on the power play 1. Teravainen's on the power play 1. If you want to really go nuts, GPP-wise, you might stack all 3 of these guys. If you want to play a little bit more timid, a little bit more high floor, you would include Teravainen and drop one of these guys. If you really wanted to drop it even a smidge further, you'd come down here to Justin Falk, and you would include him because, again, he overlaps Teravainen, he overlaps Aho, Williams, Niederreiter, whatever, and they're all in the power play 1. So that's an easy way to visualize what you're trying to do off of Roto Grinders for free. The NHL tab has some stats and some cool stuff, and you can sift through fantasy points and stuff like that. I won't focus on that because the research station is up and current, so I'll come back in a little bit and drop another video. Sorry this got to 20 minutes. It is impossible. You can hear how fast I'm talking. It is impossible to cover quality stuff and teach you guys how to play this game in 10 minutes at a time. It just is impossible. Hopefully this helped. Hopefully you guys have fun tonight. You get into some contests. You have fun. You enjoy NHL like we do. Our guys are always here to help you. Ask questions as much as you can. Hopefully this helps cut off a lot of the time and a lot of the energy that you might be expending trying to learn the game. Hopefully this did a good bit in shortening your growth curve as you go. All right, guys, we'll talk to you inside Slack here in just a bit.